Hey everybody, it's MapleBob23 and welcome to Super Comic Fun Time. It's Sunday, September 24th, and I just am coming off having a really lovely night with some friends last night. We had a dinner party, we went for a walk, then we watched a Swedish film called Let the Right One In. It was a vampire movie and it didn't suck. I've been kind of fed up with vampires lately. I think the best vampire movie ever made is Nosferatu from 1925 or 29 or whatever, the German film. It's brilliant. You should see that if you get a chance. So I wanted to take a page from my boy Zach's YouTube channel, only I'm not here to roast this. This is one of the books that came in that box that I unpacked in my very first video on this show. And what I was going to do is I was going to read it first, but then I thought, oh, I wonder if I already read it. This is from the era when I was reading comics. I can tell by, the little diamond there and the 60 cents. On the back, we have an ad for a free Lone Ranger Western town. How quaint is that? Look at that. You got little toy horses, and that does look kind of awesome. I don't know that anybody on a comic book would be selling at these days. So again, there's not going to be any roasting or ripping here. This is a sheer nostalgia trip, and I'm looking forward to opening up this magazine to see what year it actually came out. I think I was definitely reading comic books when they were 60 cents, and I think I was reading Avengers, but I might not have got every issue, as a kid, and it wasn't like today where you could become an internet entrepreneur. Oh, look at that. Cracker Jack story. That's an awesome ad. I never liked Cracker Jack the toy. Oh, look at that. There's my boy Jim Shooter. He's like my favorite all-time Marvel person after Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Steve Ditko, because I really think he, for all his faults, and I'm reading Marvel, The Untold Story now, he sure probably has plenty of faults. He probably had like a lot of bad ideas, but I think he always wanted to move things ahead. And Marvel had a lot of trouble shipping on time at the time, and they were like paying fees to shippers, to the press, the printing presses, because they weren't getting their orders in on time. And so he kind of straightened that out and said, look, you gotta get your stuff done on time. And this rankled a lot of people. A lot of people hated Jim Shooter, but and like I say, there may have been good reason to, but the end result, I think, is the greatest era in Marvel history. Now, I'm not an expert on all eras of Marvel's history, but this is when I was reading, and it was awesome. So looking at this page right now, I don't necessarily recognize this as one I've read. So yeah, see, Jim Shooter actually wrote this one. So I'm just going to flip a couple of pages, then I will probably stop the video, read it, and tell you what I think, and maybe go through some other artwork. Oh, look at that, a shaggy dog. Bubble Yum. Bubble Yum was said to be made from spider eggs. I have no idea if that was true, but it was a very popular gum when I was a kid, along with Bubblicious. A few years ago, there was a show called Fargo, and I think it's still on, but I don't have cable anymore. Anyways, in the first season, one of the characters mentions Bubblicious and how it was a fond thing, and from that point, I knew that Twin Peaks would be back pretty soon, because there is a prophecy in Twin Peaks that that gum that you like comes back in style. So I took that as a prophecy. So this looks like a pretty good book. I'm going to go ahead and pause, and then I will come back and tell you what I think of it. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, it's MapleBob23 back. This was a great book. So here, I kind of thought I would like it because it looks like it's the Avengers out in space, and I think they always do fairly well in space. I wish I had some of those little sticky things so I could choose the highlights, but this is one of the highlights. So you have Almost Done, Precious. It feels ducky, Vidal. I can't wait to see it. And then, so this Vidal guy, he's doing her hair, and then suddenly, bam, something happens to her, and she runs out, And this was the really cool part. Remember, this is like the Comics Code Authority was in effect then. So what happens is she just feels compelled to run out, and she starts shrinking. So she's totally naked. All she has is her purse. It's hilarious. I wonder if they would do that today. I don't even know if the Wasp is alive today. Anyway, so next we go to Tony Stark. And this reminds me a lot of the setup for Secret Wars back in the day. You know, that happened a few years after this. It's like you have all the characters of the Avengers being summoned. So Tony is in a casino gambling, and then he gets compelled to run out, and he tells the woman to keep the money. She blows it, and she says, like, actually, I feel a lot worse about losing that dreamboat zillionaire. So, I don't know. It's funny to me. So you have this, then you have Captain America. You have this guy in the purple parka, and he's like only running because he's a two-time loser, and this other guy shoots at him. And then like the crooks start, you know, Captain America gets compelled to run off, and the crooks start fighting each other. And so what happens is, like, then Thor's in this one too. He goes and he hangs out with Jarvis, and they're gonna watch a Knickerbocker game, but then Thor gets called off and compelled to go, and that's the spaceship. I think that's a pretty cool spaceship. And then I'm gonna skip ahead some so there's no copyright strike. Oh, there's Janet. She happened to have a handkerchief in her purse, so she dumped the purse and wrapped herself in a handkerchief. And it's weird because she's wearing a handkerchief there, but then later on when she's getting off the ship, she's wearing a top. That must be because she shrunk down here, and she grew up, and so she didn't have any clothing to wear. So then we meet Moondragon, and this story reminds me a lot of a Riri Williams story that Diversity in Comics had covered a couple of weeks ago. And what happens is, okay, spoiler alert. So like the Moondragon, Drax is here. Drax the Destroyer. He's the father of Moondragon, and he's the one who called for the Avengers. And so there's this insurrection going on this planet that Moondragon imposed peace on. Oh, look at that. Thor throwing that tank-like weapon. That's very cool. And so, but even while they're fighting, they're like saying, something doesn't seem right here. And it's like, you know, okay, these guys seem like they're homicidal maniacs, so I'm going to just err on the side of caution. Anybody using guns is probably a bad guy. And oh, look at this, the ad page. Charles Atlas. I sent away for that when I was a kid, and all I got was this book that confused me. I think it was like a pitch to sell even more. There's an ad I saw all the time. I always thought it was Thor, but I don't think it is technically Thor. Just somebody who looks like Thor. Write your own ticket as a Charter subscriber. I had some subscriptions. That's how the subscription form looked. You would just check off the ones you want and send in your check. Very cool. Okay, so yeah, then you got some more fighting. Then they win, and Janet Van Dyne in these days, she's a great shopper. So she goes shopping, and she gets herself some clothes because she's fighting in a handkerchief. At one point, she makes a quip like, you know, oh, God forbid I should have to sneeze. It's really funny. She's really good in this book, and she's the leader of the Avengers at this point. I think this is a few years before I started reading the Avengers, not very long before, but I did miss this story. I do remember Janet being the leader. They got some new costumes at some point. Anyway, so what ends up happening is it was Drax the Destroyer who sent the ship for the Avengers, and Moondragon just kind of mind controlled everybody. And what she did is she took over this planet, sort of like Riri Williams took over Latveria in that one episode. And here she's like, you know, she's a god. It's so tough being a god, and she doesn't want to have to lie to Thor, but she's mind controlling him to be in love with her. And then we get to the end. It's like, well, they realize that Drax could have told him something, but Drax is like freaking out. He can't believe his own daughter would mind control him, because he sent the ship for help from his daughter Moondragon, but then she kind of mind controlled him and kept him on a tight leash. And then it's all continued in the next issue, War Against the Gods. So this was pretty awesome. I might have to find some way to read it. And I know why I don't think I read this one. I was reading a lot of Spider-Man and stuff, but it wasn't until the Dazzler appeared in the X-Men that I really expanded my my comic reading. And so since she's on this letters page, I'm guessing that this is about the time. It's saying buy my book. I can't remember how soon her book came out after she first appeared in the X-Men, but that was my very first issue of the X-Men, and I was hooked from then on. Here you have another ad, another classic ad. This is for Dungeons and Dragons. I was never really interested in it that much. I played once or twice. It just wasn't for me. Oh, and then like here, an ad on the back page for G.I. Joe. So that's it. This was a great comic. I chose it because it was one of the earlier ones, and I thought I might have read it, which I didn't. I was definitely reading comics at this time, but I might have still even been buying them off the rack in '82. It's hard to remember. I wish I had my collection so I could reference it. Anyways, please give this video a like, subscribe, and click the bell, and I will have more videos for you soon. Let me know what you'd like to see. Let me know what you're interested in. Let me know what you think of this format, which, you know, I'm shamelessly copying off of Diversity for Comics. I don't know him or anything, but I do like his videos. So be well. I love you. Take care.